man, the other guy's base is what I grew up in. You know, I'm basically your standard redneck.
This is America Talks Live Hour 2, where the most important content from our program comes from you. Your calls, questions, and observations phoned in to 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. You and I just heard former President Bill Clinton essentially call Donald Trump's supporters rednecks. Now, considering that his wife, Democrat nominee Hillary Clinton, earlier called out Trump voters as belonging in a basket of deplorables, will these elitist observations make Mrs. Clinton's position as the current frontrunner in the campaign for the presidency untenable, adding fuel to the fire of controversy suddenly surrounding the Clinton campaign? More damaging emails from Wikileaks. Miranda Kahn has more in this news update. Miranda?
Thanks, JD. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, says the GOP should get behind Donald Trump.
We want the support of anybody who's going to publicly endorse us, but enough of the pussyfooting around in terms of, do you support us or do you not support us?
Several GOP lawmakers no longer support Trump because of his comments about women in the Washington Post leaked audio. We're going to talk more about this in our Prime Preview. Meanwhile, many Catholics are calling on Hillary Clinton to fire her aide. That's Jennifer Palmieri. This over an email where she mocked the Catholic faith. Wikileaks released a 2011 email chain where Palmieri made this statement about Catholics. She said, "I imagine they think that this is the most socially acceptable political conservative religion. Their rich friends wouldn't understand if they became evangelicals." Meanwhile, Terrence Crutcher, who shot and killed by a Tulsa, Oklahoma police officer, was high on PCP at the time of that shooting. This according to a recent autopsy. Officer Betty Shelby pled not guilty to felony manslaughter charges. For much more on these stories, please stay tuned to Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com. Back to you, JD.
Thanks very much, Miranda. We look forward to your Prime Preview a bit later during this program. For more on all the political proceedings, the controversies with respective campaigns, I'm very pleased to be joined right here on the anchor desk by political commentator and Newsmax insider Clarence McKee, now president of McKee Communications. I transposed that, Clarence. It's what happens sometimes. Also here, a guy I'll never transpose in any way. Sure don't want to pose him in an alleyway. Retired police detective Tom Whatley. I call these two the policeman and the pundit, though we might start calling them the stars of Lethal Weapon, the prequel. Okay. All right, guys, Boffo box office. All of this stuff coming from WikiLeaks. Now, yesterday, the first shot across the bow rhetorically was an email from John Podesta where it said Hillary hated everyday Americans. Listen to the context. Here's the way they had it down. "I know she's begun to hate everyday Americans, but I think we should use it once the first time she says I'm running for president because you and everyday Americans need a champion." Now, if she doesn't like the term, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you can say it's the term, but it sounds to me, Clarence, like she doesn't like everyday Americans.
These are a bunch of egotistical, elitist, arrogant white liberals who look down on everybody else. If these had been statements coming out of the staffs or leaks from Trump, you would have everybody jumping all over them, including the media. But what you notice, one thing that hasn't happened, not one Democrat has criticized any of those comments, and they're not going to do it. If these had been Republicans, like McCain, they'd be, I disavow all of these statements. Not one Democrat in the next week will sit to say anything. So I hope Mr. Trump really hits home. It's a double standard. We've got a banana republic media that's just like we have in some third world countries.
Well, I appreciate the Banana Republic reference, but I tend to think of it more as Orwellian, as in 1984 and the Ministry of Truth. However, let me go back, because there is an argument about the Podesta email here. And as a guy who's given his fair share of speeches, I know that at different times you look for different words. Let's take a look at the way the Daily Caller tried to cushion the blow. They would say they're trying to be more faithful to the context. Look at the headline that appeared in the Daily Caller. Leaked emails reveal Hillary Clinton hates the phrase everyday Americans. Tom, a distinction without a difference?
Oh, there's certainly a distinction. We're seeing that now where the media is really trying, especially media on the left, is trying to determine the outcome of the election. I mean, there's insiders. We've seen that. I don't want to take away from the rest of your story, but we know what certain press members, including Mr. Bush, who worked for the Today Show, clearly if you're related to two presidents and the Florida governor, and you insult his family members, he's going to come after you, but he held on to that. So the media is clearly trying to determine this election, not the citizens.
Well, it is very interesting to take a look at all the charges and the counter charges. And for example, flying the Trump standard, obviously, as she should be doing, is Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway. She appeared on ABC's Good Morning America earlier today. And Kelly, being the pollster that she is, returns to the key problem for Hillary, saying that Hillary has a real trust issue and these emails are not helping.
Obviously, in ABC's polling and other places, Hillary Clinton has a very difficult time proving to the American people that she's honest and trustworthy. And I don't think that her actions with her server and the way they treated the email, really imperiling everybody's national security, help that veracity challenge that she has.
So, I really got to give Kellyanne credit, because pollsters tell you, you take a look at where a campaign is or a candidate is most vulnerable, and you keep hitting and hitting and hitting it. And Kellyanne returned to that again, Tom.
Yeah, she sure did. And there's one thing that we can say is that, certain media outlets, when they do their polling, they also target certain, we know CNN, 58% of the people they polled were Democrats. So how does that work out with the numbers when you're going to get a response?
Yeah, it's called weighting the sample. And the simplest way to put it is garbage in, garbage out. If you skew the sample, you get a skewed result. But Clarence, there's just so much here. It is a target-rich environment. And Clarence, you understand this, having been involved in so many campaigns. And I certainly know as a member of Congress, the rule used to be, hey, if you work for me, don't end up in the news yourself. Don't become an issue. And yet with this dynamic of the leaks of these emails, John Podesta, Jennifer Palmieri, and others are suddenly part of the news. For example, this other big controversy, the senior fellow for the Center for American Progress, that leftist think tank, John Halpin, said that conservative Catholics have, quote, bastardized the faith. The email sent in reference to News Corp head Rupert Murdoch's kids, who are raised Catholic. Here is what Halpin wrote in his email. It is amazing bastardization of the faith. They must be attracted to the systematic thought and severely backwards gender elations, and must be totally unaware of Christian democracy. And then you got Jennifer Palmieri. Clarence, I got it. She agreed with it. Listen to what Palmieri wrote back. I'm just going to show this. Then Clarence, I promise you, you're going to get a crack at it. All right. I imagine they think this is the most socially acceptable, politically conservative religion. Their rich friends wouldn't understand if they became evangelicals. It's a target-rich environment, Clarence. Your take on all of this?
Well, first of all you hear from the major press and the Hillary people is Donald Trump's against Muslims. He hates Asian Americans. He hates black Americans. I hope now we'll hear from our side, the Trump side, and the conservative media. Are they going to challenge Hillary on what has been said about the Roman Catholics? I don't know if the National Conference of Catholic Bishops gets involved in these things, but there's a great spokesman for the Catholic Church in New York. Can't think of his name. But I would hope that the Catholic Church really jumps on the Hillary campaign and Roman Catholics, treated like dirt by the elitists, the good old white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Well, but Roman Catholics are always punched at, but they always are so quiet. Ever since John Kennedy won, and they were a very solid group and proud, I would think they would be livid.
And I
Absolutely
graduated
livid.
from a Catholic university, so this kind of hits home for me as well.
My kids went to parochial school, and when I served in public office in Arizona, I was a frequent target of a Democrat website in that state that ironically had the name Romanism and Rebellion, going back to what the Know-Nothings were saying. They were trying to equate conservatives with the Know-Nothings. Hey, the stuff we're hearing out of the campaign is flat out bigotry and Know-Nothingism. Listen, we've got people out there watching who know quite a bit and want to weigh in on it at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629 from New York City. King is on the line. King, I understand you're solidly in Donald Trump's corner.
Yes, JD, I certainly am. I'm a big Trump supporter. I've been supporting him since the outset. And as I told your assistant, the things that Mr. Trump is saying now, I've been saying for 20 years. And I must also say that I am black. And I'm voting against my wife. There's a little split in our household because she was a Trump fan in the 80s with the art of the deal and all that because she's in the business, and I couldn't stand the guy. But the reason why I'm supporting him is because if you don't control your borders, you're not a country.
That's right. That's what Ronald Reagan said, King, before he left. A country that does not control its borders will cease being a country. King, it's great to hear from you. We're having a little trouble with the reception, but we look forward to talking to you again real soon. Clarence, you hear that?
I was going to ask him, but he's gone. How many of his friends, black friends, have the same feeling as he does? Because I really think there's a large black silent minority that are going to support Trump, but they would never tell anybody or their friends. I think he's typical of a lot of people, especially given this open border situation. 600 million people coming in here. Whose jobs are they going to take?
There are a whole bunch of Democrats that aren't speaking out that are probably going to vote for Trump as well, but they won't say it publicly.
And the real gift here, and what I think it cuts across racial and ethnic and obviously party division lines. What King had to say about, when I hear what Trump is saying today, he is saying what I was saying. Giving voice to the frustration and the failure of the elites in both parties. And goodness knows, I remember all about it when I used to go toe-to-toe with George W. Bush, who was just so insistent on trying to provide amnesty. The American people are rising up because they are concerned, and Donald Trump has become that messenger. Listen, we are going to have more with our good friends, the policeman and the pundit, and also more of your calls at 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629.